Welcome to the darker side of fun fairs. Tonight we delve into three true and disturbing carnival horror stories that will chill you to the bone. Behind the flashing lights and joyous screams, something sinister lurks. These aren't your typical ghost stories. These are tales whispered from town to town, stories that carnival folk themselves try to keep buried. So grab your tickets and hold on tight, because we're about to venture deep into the heart of carnival darkness. Picture this. The year is 1987, the place a bustling carnival in the heart of America. The air crackles with excitement, laughter echoing through the midway. Our story begins with Benny, a friendly face known for his delicious caramel apples. Benny was a staple at the carnival, his booming laugh as much a part of the atmosphere as the calliope music. One particularly busy Saturday night, right in the thick of the fun, Benny vanished. Poof, gone. One minute he was serving a giggling kid a caramel apple, the next, there was nothing but an empty stall. Now, you might be thinking people wander off, maybe he just went for a walk. But this was Benny's life. His carnival family was his everything. He wouldn't just abandon his post, especially not on the busiest night of the year. Days turned into weeks, and the mystery of Benny's disappearance deepened. The carnival owners brushed it off as a simple case of a man leaving town, but those who knew Benny felt a chill crawl down their spines. Something wasn't right. The police investigation eventually went cold. Benny became nothing more than a ghost story whispered among the carnival folk. A chilling rumor began to circulate. Some say that if you listen closely on a quiet night, you can still hear Benny's laugh echoing through the empty midway. Years later, a young woman named Sarah joined the carnival, taking a summer job at a cotton candy stand. Drawn to the unsolved mystery, Sarah began asking questions. She spoke to the older carnies, their eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and fear. One grizzled old fortune teller told Sarah about a shadowy figure she had seen lurking near Benny's stall on the night he vanished. Was this figure responsible for Benny's disappearance? Or was it just a figment of a tired old woman's imagination? Driven by a thirst for the truth, Sarah delved deeper into the mystery. She discovered that Benny had been saving up for something important, but the details remained elusive. As she followed the trail, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. One evening, Sarah found herself drawn to Benny's old stall. Clutching a tarnished locket engraved with Benny's name, Sarah vowed to find out what really happened to Benny. The carnival had always been a place of wonder and mystery, but Benny's disappearance added a layer of unease that never quite dissipated. The older carnies would often share stories around the campfire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames casting eerie shadows that danced in the night. They spoke of Benny's kindness, his generosity, and how he always had a smile for everyone, no matter how tough the day had been. Sarah listened intently, piecing together fragments of Benny's life. She learned that Benny had a dream of opening his own candy shop, a place where he could share his love for sweets with the world. He had been saving every penny, working tirelessly to make that dream a reality, but something or someone had cut that dream short. One night, as Sarah was closing up her stand, she noticed an old photo tucked behind a loose board. It was a picture of Benny, smiling broadly, with a group of children around him, all holding caramel apples. The photo was worn and faded, but Benny's joy was unmistakable. Sarah felt a pang of sadness, wondering what had happened to the man who had brought so much happiness to others. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah began to dig deeper. She visited the local library, poring over old newspapers and records, looking for any clue that might lead her to Benny. She discovered that on the night of his disappearance, there had been reports of strange lights in the sky, and some locals had claimed to see a mysterious figure lurking near the carnival grounds. Sarah's investigation led her to a retired police officer who had worked on Benny's case. The officer, now in his 70s, was reluctant to talk at first, but Sarah's persistence paid off. He revealed that there had been several unexplained disappearances in the area over the years, all with similar circumstances. The officer had always suspected foul play, but without concrete evidence, the cases had gone cold. Armed with this new information, Sarah returned to the carnival more determined than ever. She spoke to anyone who would listen, hoping to find someone who might remember something, anything, that could help her solve the mystery. One night, as she was walking through the now quiet midway, she heard a faint sound. It was Benny's laugh, unmistakable and haunting. Sarah followed the sound, her heart pounding in her chest. It led her to an old storage shed, long forgotten and covered in ivy. Inside, she found a hidden room, filled with Benny's belongings. There were letters, photos, and a journal detailing his plans for the future. But there was also something more sinister, evidence that someone had been watching Benny, tracking his every move. The journal revealed that Benny had been aware of the shadowy figure, and he had been trying to uncover their identity. He had written about feeling watched, about strange occurrences that he couldn't explain. Sarah realized that Benny had been close to discovering the truth, but he had been silenced before he could reveal it. With a heavy heart, Sarah took the journal to the authorities, hoping that it would be enough to reopen the case. The carnival continued on, the lights and laughter masking the darkness that lurked beneath. But for Sarah and for those who remembered Benny, the mystery remained. And on quiet nights when the wind was just right, they could still hear his laugh, a reminder of the man who had vanished without a trace. Our next story takes us to the dusty plains of Texas, where a traveling carnival rolled into a small town, promising a night of enchantment and wonder. Little did the townsfolk know, this carnival harbored a secret, a haunting melody that played on a loop, a specter forever bound to the gilded cages of a dilapidated carousel. The carousel, once a beacon of joy, now stood as a silent sentinel, its paint faded and chipped, its horses frozen in eternal gallops. It all began with a young couple, star-crossed lovers named Rose and Jack, who dared to defy the carnival owner's cruel whims. Rose, a free spirit, worked as a fortune teller, her tent adorned with shimmering fabrics. Jack, a skilled woodcarver, helped maintain the carnival's attractions. Their love was a forbidden flame, a secret they guarded fiercely from Rose's father, the carnival owner. When he discovered their clandestine meetings, his wrath knew no bounds. One stormy night, the carnival owner confronted the young lovers. He accused them of treachery, of stealing from him the one thing he valued most: control. In a fit of rage, he banished Rose from the carnival, threatening Jack with dire consequences if he ever tried to follow her. Heartbroken but determined to be together, Rose and Jack hatched a plan. They agreed to meet at the stroke of midnight by the carousel, but fate had other plans. As Jack raced towards the carousel, the carnival owner lay in wait. A struggle ensued, and then silence. The storm subsided, leaving behind an eerie calm. The carousel, its lights flickering ominously, stood as a silent witness to the tragedy. Rose, arriving at the appointed time, found only Jack's cap lying on the ground. Her heart shattered. Rose refused to believe that Jack had abandoned her. She searched tirelessly for him, her cries echoing through the empty carnival grounds. But Jack was gone, vanished without a trace. Legend has it that Rose, driven mad by grief, never left the carnival. Her spirit, forever bound to the carousel, searches endlessly for her lost love. Our final tale takes us to the present day, to a traveling carnival on the outskirts of a small town in Louisiana. This wasn't your average carnival. This one promised an experience unlike any other, an attraction so immersive, so terrifying that it had folks lining up for hours. They called it the Tent of Terror, and it was the brainchild of a man known only as Silas. Silas, with his piercing gaze and unsettlingly calm demeanor, claimed that his Tent of Terror was no ordinary haunted house. He boasted of ancient curses, of artifacts imbued with real power, of entities trapped within the tent's canvas walls. Most folks just chalked it up to good marketing. But there were whispers that Silas wasn't just putting on a show. Some whispered that the screams echoing from within the tent sounded a little too real. One sweltering summer night, a group of friends decided to brave the Tent of Terror. There was Mark, the skeptical one, Jessica, the adventurous one, and David, the quiet one. They stepped into the tent, the air thick with the scent of stale popcorn and dread. The Tent of Terror was a labyrinth of twisting corridors and dimly lit rooms. They encountered grotesque figures that lunged from the shadows. They navigated a room filled with mirrors, their reflections distorted into monstrous versions of themselves. The deeper they ventured into the tent, the more unsettling it became. The air grew heavy, making it difficult to breathe. The temperature plummeted, sending shivers down their spines. As they stumbled through the darkness, they began to hear whispers, faint at first, then growing louder. The whispers spoke of their deepest fears, their darkest secrets. Panic began to set in, their laughter replaced with nervous glances. Then, without warning, Mark vanished. Jessica and David, their hearts pounding, called out for their friend. But there was no answer, only the echo of their own fear. They stumbled through the labyrinth, their senses heightened. As they rounded a corner, they were met with a sight that chilled them to the core. In the center of a dimly lit room stood Silas, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Clutched in his hand, a voodoo doll that bore a striking resemblance to their missing friend, Mark. These stories remind us that sometimes the real horrors are where we least expect them. Thank you for joining me on this eerie journey. Stay safe and remember, not all fun at the carnival ends well.